Board of Commissioners full board meeting for Tuesday, February 28th to order. Father Tyler Bischoff from All Saints Catholic Church, will you come step forward and lead us in prayer?
So let's bow our heads in prayer. Blessed are you, God of mercy, who through your Son gave us the marvelous example of loving one another and gave us the great commandment to love one another. Send on your blessing on these, your servants, and all the citizens of Alpena County, who so generously devote themselves to helping others when they are called on in times of need. Let them faithfully serve you and their neighbor. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Father. I rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Carrie.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer.
Here.
Commissioner Karshneck,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier. Francisco.
Here.
Commissioner Konashevsky.
Here.
Commissioner Kozlowski. Commissioner Peterson.
Here. The agenda, we have a couple additions. It'll go under Personnel Committee, Courts of Public Safety with John, CPSC 2 and CPC 4. You have a sheet in front of you. That was stout, so we'll add that to the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
Moved by Bill, support by John. Jesse, excuse me. Okay. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Got public comment. Anybody in the room wish to make a comment? And you have 3 minutes. State your name and address, please.
I'm Pelkey. I'm at 70111 Long Rapids Road, Maple Ridge Township. I'm here as usual to speak in support of Deputy Reed and our animal control program. And I was at the Courts and Public Safety meeting yesterday, and it came to my attention that there've been plans in the works, or at least talks, to transfer the care of our county's distressed animals to a private protection shelter. And I wanted to explain from my background why I think those. As I've said before, I've actively volunteered for shelter animals in this county for nearly 20 years. The majority were spent in a protection shelter, which I left frustrated about 5 years ago. And since then, my wife and I have volunteered at the animal control shelter, where we've experienced firsthand not only Deputy Reed's leadership and commitment, but the staff as well. My experiences over the years have given me kind of a unique perspective of both systems, and I'll tell you that to fragment this program would torpedo the success we're seeing now and do a disservice to the community and the animals that depend on us. It's demanding work, and there's a lot to it. Not much time for fundraisers or photo ops. And we're committed against cruelty. There's no picking out our favorites or the cutest or the most adoptable. We bring in, care for, and rehabilitate the starved, the battered and beaten, mentally scarred, the expectant mothers, and mothers with little ones that they're too malnourished to nurse. It's a lot more than cleaning cages and filling food and water dishes. And you wouldn't believe the amount of extra effort that goes on off the clock from our staff members too, and their families. There's also the criminal investigations, the police work that goes involved, vetting of potential adopters and volunteers. Animals and evidence must be secured from outside interferences. There's a myriad of other state and local legal and health and safety issues. The Alpena County Animal Control Program must remain as it is. The Deputy Reed was recently named the best in her profession by her peers across the state, as you may recall. Her decades of experience have enabled her to coordinate all these before mentioned activities as needed under one roof to make sure the job gets done. I would think the board would appreciate this gift in our county as much as the citizens do. And if you doubt that appreciation, possibly we might even put it on the ballot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hello, Commissioners. I thought this would be a good time to just give a very brief update on our project with my name is Brad Summers. I'm the Executive Director of the Boys and Girls Club of Alpena. I've had the wonderful opportunity to talk to some of you privately and in meetings about the Boys and Girls Club project that's going on at 801 West Miller Street. If you drive by between the Boosters Club and DHHS, you'll see the project. It's being completed, obviously, on the exterior right now. The interior is just about completed with the furnishings, flooring, and all of the IT and security system that's being set up. What I really wanted to talk about too was what are some of the plans with the current building that we're in at 601 River Street. We're at obviously the exciting point right now where we're looking to move into the new building. And then what happens with the 601 River Street building. And the reason I'm sitting in front of you today too, or standing in front of you today, is because there is a reversion clause on the property of the warranty deed, as some of you may know, some of you may not know. And I thought this was an awesome opportunity to come up and tell with some of the newer commissioners that are here as well, that we have a reversion clause on the current property that we do own with the county. That we will sell to, if we sell to somebody that's does the same general work that we do, that benefits the youth of our community, that we could retain the sale. But with a lot of need for building and space in the community, obviously there's going to be probably the entertainment of other types of offers, which would definitely be something that we want to bring to your attention if they do come across. Currently, right now, the board of directors, we are still having several discussions about what to do with this property. We do own the building and the property, but with the reversion clause, we want to work as amicably as possible with you as the county and the commissioners to find a wonderful way to, celebrate the last 60 years of us being in that property, at that property, but yet have someone move into the 601 River Street address. That'll do justice to its community as well. Once the board of directors decides to entertain any offers from any person or corporation that does not directly benefit the youth of Alpena, we want to be able to get in contact with you. But that's once the board of directors decides what they would like to do with the property right now. As we're moving forward, there's a huge need for gym space in our community and recreational space for young people, which when we move into that building, we want to retain that and utilize outreach programs that we have. We'll be able to have our sports leagues, have practices while games are going on in the new building. But really, it's a big need for recreational facilities in the community, and for us to have that opportunity to, continue allowing, people and the members and the kids to have that space. We want to, obviously retain that property for that. But as we continue to look into the future, we want to make sure that we do our justice and make sure that we contact you as the commissioners in the county to make sure that we do our due diligence to make sure that property gets a new suitable home or owner.
Thanks, Brad.
Brad, I got one. Is anything going to be done as far as Lanny Kingsbury's name on the old building? Is any kind of recognition to him in the new building at all?
Yes, we are definitely going to still honor Lanny Kingsbury and the things that he's done for the past of the Boys and Girls Club. He's got a very rich history with the Boys and Girls Club. It was a little bit before my time, but I've definitely been able to hear from a lot of people from this wonderful community on all the things that he's done to make that Boys and Girls Club what it is today and to keep the operations going.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom like to make public comment? Oh, okay, we'll move on. Consent calendar. Is anybody on the poll hang out the consent calendar? If not, I'd entertain a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to approve that.
I got a motion by Dave to approve consent calendar. Do I have a second? Support by Brenda. Roll call, please.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Karshnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Kim Elke.
Good afternoon. In your packet for today, you should have a copy of an updated version of the Alpena County Emergency Operations Plan. It is part of our responsibility with Homeland Security to have a current adopted of this plan in place for the county. And so before you today is a new copy for review and adoption. Happy to try to answer any questions you might have.
Anybody got questions from Kim? Little thick.
A lot of work went into that.
Yeah.
I want to thank Al. It was a real team effort, and I'm very grateful for his position. And he dives right in and helps on these things, and it was greatly appreciated.
Bert, you said on that committee, was everything looking good?
Yeah, so this, yes, Mr. Chairman, this is basically, it's the basic plan. There are a number of annexes that will be completed in the future, but to meet the requirement at this time, we had to have the basic plan done. What's nice about this EOP, the Emergency Operations Plan, is if there is a need to activate the county EOC, it's basically a checklist by functional area of what needs to be done. And it's a great guide to be used. And I mean, a couple years ago, the pandemic kind of tested that, where people weren't sure what to do. They could look at that template, those annexes, and it guided them on actions that needed to be done. So I commend Kim and Al for getting this updated and before us in a timely manner.
One item of note, so on today's consent calendar, there were two annexes, one for the communications crew and the other for damage assessment that were approved today. Those went through the LPT committee this month. Going forward, we were informed that those annexes do not have to come to the full Board of Commissioners, that we can work those out with the teams that will be performing those duties, and those will just come to the LPT committee for approval. And so you won't have to continue to see those, but we'll be reviewing those with the appropriate teams and making updates to those throughout the year to make sure that we keep everybody updated. And with the new project that we just undertook with this, we now have a nice Word document containing everything. So, for example, every time there's an election, we need to update the plan. We'll be able to easily do those tasks going forward because we have a document that's able to be edited. So we're pretty excited.
Good, Kim. I entertain a motion to approve action item 2.
I'll make that motion to receive and file the county EOP.
A motion by Bert, support by Bill. Okay, we just do this voice. We'll do this voice. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
Bills to pay. Anybody got a question or query on the bills?
You all caught up then?
Now I entertain a motion to have Carrie pay the bills.
Make that motion.
Motion by Dave, support by Brenda. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Osmer, Commissioner Karshnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier, Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski, Commissioner LaHaye, Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Okay, Ryan.
Afternoon, everyone. I've spoken with. I've met, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Ryan Bledger, I'm the Managing Director of the Alpena County Road Commission. Mary Catherine and I spoke last year. We met and we're discussing some items and thought it would be a great time, coming into the new year, for me to kind of give a roads 101 to the county board, especially with the turnover that we've had on the board. We've got some new faces out there, and that'll just help everyone kind of understand what we are, what we do, what we can do, what we can't do. I'm gonna try and keep it a little simple. A little bit about myself. I'm a native of Alpena. I was born and raised here. I did move to Petoskey for 6 months to manage a ready-mix plant, but I came back as soon as I could. I've been at the road commission now for just over 21 years. Coming up on 3 years as manager. Fortunately, I was tasked with becoming managing director in the early part of 2020, and everybody knows how that went. But we've gotten through that. We've gotten through the Bagley Street Bridge construction, fortunately, and kind of ready to move back to normal. That's why I'm glad to be here and talk to you guys. Commissioners and Mary Catherine, I gave you a couple little handouts. I'll kind of point to them here. And also along with that is my business card. Those business cards have my cell phone number on them. You guys are free to contact me at any time at that number. If you have any questions, I'm always available. John, I've spoken to you a few times via text. I mean, text me, call me, whatever you need. You know, a lot of times we can head off problems before we even have. A bit of a background of the road commission. I'm certain everybody knows we're located on Bagley Street next to the bridge. We're responsible currently for 660 miles of county road. 210 of those are primary road. 450 are local roads. We were established in 1994. That was after Public Act 149 of 1893 allowed for the establishment of road authorities. Following that, Public Act 283 in 1909 basically organized how county road departments would work and try to make it congruent throughout the state. Everybody's kind of following the same template, and there's a lot of continuity of road building, road adoption, and whatnot. Those 450 miles of local road, actually, the majority of those were absorbed into the county under the McNitt Act of 1931. McNitt Act dictated that county road authorities take over all township roads. It was a 5-year program, 20% of the road mileage at a time. Was due to the fact we're suffering the Great Depression and townships just could not get the tax base to maintain local roads. So that's primarily how we ended up with the majority of that. We currently have 33 employees. 3 of those are shadowing for intended retirements. We land at about 30 employees typically. We've got 3 mechanics, 20 drivers, 3 road foremen, a payroll clerk, finance director, an engineering tech, myself. On top of those 30 full-time employees, we have 3 board members, 2 of which are here today. 1 couldn't be here. Our main source of revenue, and that's in one of the handouts you have, is our MTF. And you hear a lot of people when they have complaints, if they contact you, the first thing they'll say is, I pay my taxes. What a lot of folks don't understand is in that handout is the only taxes that they pay that go towards roads. There are smaller little pots that may happen. Special assessments are a bit of a different animal, where in fact the residents are actually paying for that road reconstruction. But what's in front of you is the majority of where our revenue comes from: fuel taxes, weight taxes, registration, directed income tax, a very small portion of marijuana tax, and some interest earnings. That makes up approximately, this year, our targeted MTF revenue is $6.1 million. MTF revenue, the revenue that's in front of you, is distributed through what's called Act 51. That's a legislative act that determines how those dollars are distributed out through the counties. Interestingly enough, and I'll touch on township money pretty shortly, but we share, we have a township match program that, we'll match 50-50 what the townships will give us. We distribute that to them through that same formula. So we try and keep everything fair to the townships. That formula is loosely based on population and road mileage. So that MTF revenue is always an estimate that we budget off of. We get that estimate from the state of Michigan. It fluctuates. It all depends on how much people drive. Pandemic, the MTF tanked. Nobody was driving anymore. Things come back to normal and estimates were low. So another source of revenue that we have, the federal source, is based on whatever current infrastructure bill is in place at the time. Currently, it's the new one, the IIJA. That's where we receive our federal dollars, which has to be spent on only federal aid eligible roads. So we have a 5-year plan for what roads we're going to use that MTF money for. That has to be split 80-20. So currently this year we have $595,000 in MTF funding coming to us. 20% match puts it, I believe, at about $773,000. We're using that for a project here in 2023. We'll touch on that. On top of the MTF revenue and the infrastructure bill revenue, really we get back to that townships. Historically, in 2017, the board approved allocating $340,000 for our 8 townships to be split through that Act 51 revenue. I did approach the board this year, going into our budget for 2023 and said, hey, those are 2017 dollars. Townships are seeing more revenue, so let's bump that up. So we moved that up to $400,000. So our goal is to spend about $800,000 on local roads. That'll be heavy maintenance projects, graveling projects, large ditching projects. Part of that revenue sharing does contribute to dust control. The townships pay for the materials, the road commission provides the labor. One other source of revenue that we do have, one of the larger ones, we do participate in a state maintenance contract. It's a 5-year contract with the state of Michigan to handle their state maintenance, US 23, M65, M32. We do all the winter maintenance, all the plowing, ditching projects, basically any maintenance you see performed out there, we're doing it. Unless it's something outside of the scope of what we can handle. Good example, when we had the oil spill at the corner of M32 and M65, the state contacted us. We used our crews to clean that up and then reconstruct that this summer. So, sir, coming back around to the projects, I mentioned like the RTF money that's from the infrastructure bill. We're using that towards Spruce Road this year. It's basically our only major project this year. We're going to resurface Spruce Road from Hubert Road to Nicholson Hill Road. But we're actually using funding from 22, 23, and 24. We've seen a lot of bid savings in using that funds. We have to pay in advance for the 24 money and the state versus us over first their fiscal year. To touch on a few projects, like I said, 23 is really the major one we have. 2024, we've got from French Road to US 23, we plan to resurface. From M32 to the gate, we plan to resurface. We did apply for and were successful in receiving a systemic safety grant for Long Rapids Road. We have a lot of runoff crashes on the curves out there. Took a look at that and determined, maybe if we had uniform signing throughout that stretch of road, we could probably realize a little more safety there. So, and the other thing we are doing is we received a Category F grant to resurface Bagley Street. Something I asked the board about and encourage them to support us on. As you all know, the bridge is new. Bagley Street is in deteriorating condition. Be nice to have that entire stretch new. So looks like that's going to happen in 24. You have another bridge project coming up in 2025, Long Rapids Road over North Branch Thunderbird River by Bolton Road. We will be putting the superstructure on that. So I know that's a lot of info. I just kind of wanted to give you guys an idea of background, where we're at, what we do. We've got a great crew, great bunch of guys out there. That being said, we did included in that our meeting schedule, and I've talked to a few of you. I encourage anyone to come to our meetings. I really like to take questions and get any information out there I can when people have questions. I highly encourage it, and I encourage it to the public, so.
I had written down one thing here, right? I'm talking about the bridge going north, and you said that you're gonna redo that stretch because it's falling apart pretty fast.
It is.
Truck traffic there.
It is. That section of road sees approximately 16,000 cars.
How will you go north on that?
We're gonna resurface from M32 to Long Rapids Road.
Okay, whole thing, then. That's good.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
So that new Heron Road obviously is having some issues down through that stretch. What's being done to, I guess, repair that new road stretch?
Yeah, so I'm glad that came up. It's a subject that I like people to ask about because, I want the opportunity to kind of dispel a lot of rumors. We actually just last week received the report from a geotechnical firm that we partnered with, looking into what might have happened out there. That construction project was typical of our upgrades of gravel roads. I'm going to get into the weeds a little bit on you guys, but I like you to understand the background a little bit. We have upgraded a lot of gravel to hard surface roads. And Heron Road at the north end and the south end were both done in the last 10 years. The section in between was done the exact same way. Generally, what we'll do, if we can do it, is we will basically bury the old road with sand. Get that new road up out of the water. And you'll notice that on a lot of state highways. You need to get that roadway up so you can get that base drained. And that's what we did here. That section that failed almost overnight. I was shocked when I got the phone call about it. Went out there before our October board meeting, I believe it was. And I couldn't believe what had already happened nearly overnight. So this geotechnical firm has done some borings for us. They've done some other tests with what they call geoprobes sampling. Their report, which I did send to my board's had a chance to review, basically said, in their opinion, there is something going on deeper than the structure that they've investigated that they can't pinpoint without more investigation. Their report did conclude, and this is one good thing, I'm glad you brought this question up, and I was going to update my board next week on it. They basically concluded that the design that was used to construct the road, because this all goes through a pavement design through our engineer here on engineering, was adequate for the conditions present and the future conditions anticipated. So what we're seeing here is we don't have a design issue. And we don't have a construction issue. We've got an issue with subsoils that we haven't gone deep enough to pinpoint. So at this point, I'm still consulting some other companies at how, what method we're going to take to fix it. Part of that's going to be up to the board. This kind of situation can get extremely expensive to fix. But there are some ways we can go about addressing this issue that are minimal cost to the board. And I want to talk that through with them, so.
Any other questions from Ryan?
So you moved your meetings, they used to be at 3, now they're at 1?
It used to be 2 meetings a month. It was changed to 1 meeting a month.
Well, I knew it was, because I used to go occasionally on the first Tuesday of the month, and I thought it was at 3 o'clock.
It was a first and second Tuesday of the month at 3 o'clock. I don't know, Gerald, were you on the board when they made that decision? I honestly don't know the history behind that because I wasn't involved in it.
They are at 3 o'clock though, John.
Oh, yeah, they are at 3, yeah.
Okay, I just want, it says 1 o'clock, so I just didn't know.
We had a special occasion to raise, bring it back to 1.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant how many meetings a month.
No, yeah, I knew about that.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I misunderstood your question. But yeah, they're at 3 PM.
Okay, thank you.
With the exception, whatever changes would be.
Any other questions? Right, go ahead, Jess.
I have two, so I'll ask them at the same time, and then you can answer them. The first is, you did list off the future projects. Is that listed anywhere on your website? I haven't been to it, but is there anywhere I can go to kind of follow along to see what's coming down the pike?
We had that on there. I need to double check that it still is. We've kind of been making some changes.
Okay, or if not, could you send that, the list that you read to us, just so?
Yep, absolutely.
And then the other question I don't have to ask, I guess, right now, but there might be other members who might be interested. How many on your board, and when these individuals are on the board, what kind of credentials do they have, or are they just selected? I guess, how's that done?
Great question. So we are a 3-member board. We've been a 3-member board since 1894. I believe it was 2015. No, may have been earlier than that. Might have been 708. I know there was talk of moving us to a 5-member board. A lot of states, or some road commissions have done it. I shouldn't say a lot. I don't have it now. I would say approximately 25 to 28% of the road commissions in the state of Michigan are a 5-member board. The majority are still a 3-member board. The road commission board is appointed by the county board. The decision's made through the personnel committee. As far as credentials, really, that's up to you guys.
Okay, I just didn't know if by statute there were any.
There is not.
Okay.
But that's a great question, and it leads me to one other thing I wanted to bring up. Our insurance pool has recently put together a presentation for education on the roles of road commission board members. And, I talked to a couple of our board members about doing that presentation and kind of refreshing ourselves on it. I talked to our insurance pool, and they are willing to give that presentation to not only them, but the entire county board. It outlines what does it mean to be a county road commissioner, road commission meeting rules, conduct themselves, what things they can and can't do. And then some other special topics overseeing the processes governed by county board, road commission board members. I'd like to extend that invitation to you guys. Like I said, that's the reason I'm here. I think education is.
You have a time that you plan to do that?
Wendy Hart, who is one of the attorneys on our, I talked to her on Monday morning. She basically said that it's better off to give dates she's not available. So she is not available the 14th, 28th, and 31st of March. I don't know if this is something you would want to do during a regular meeting, or if you wanted to set something up special. She would do it via Zoom. If you guys are okay with that, if you're interested.
Just keep us posted.
I think it would be a good idea myself. Yeah, I'd like to. March is getting to be a difficult month, however.
Okay.
But I would certainly be interested as well, Travis.
Yeah.
I think what I could do, and I'm not really familiar with how to do this. I'm sort of techie, but not really techie. I know that there's polls you can send out. Email, or I don't know if anyone in here is familiar with that. And you guys could kind of mark out dates that you're not available or that you would be available. Is that something you're interested in?
Could probably get that to the commissioner's office, and Lynn could probably set that all up for you.
Work together on getting something set up with that? Okay.
Are you looking to do it sometime in March then? Because along, like Commissioner Francisco said, my March is getting full too, and I'd be interested in doing something if I'm available.
Okay. So in March would work for you guys?
No,
Well,
probably April. April would be better.
Okay.
Put a bit April, and
So I'll talk to Wendy and see what she's got for April, and we'll look into doing something with that.
great, thanks.
That was a lot of information. There's probably some things I wanted to touch on that I didn't, but you've all got my number. Question pops up, shoot me a call, a text, leave my emails on there.
So I do have one additional question. Obviously, there has been talks amongst our group about looking into making that a 5-person board. What are your thoughts on that?
Given it a lot of thought, to be honest with you. One issue I think, we've operated successfully as a 3-man board, like I said, since 1894. I know things have changed since then. There is always cost as a factor. Currently, a road commission board member costs us just over $13,000, about $13,500 a piece. So you're looking at just under $27,000 from a 3-man to a 5-man board. Side control for primary roads. So it's always something to consider.
I did a little bit of due diligence, and it seems that counties that are comparable to ours in size, about 2/3 of them are a 5-member board. There are, some that are still 3-member, but so.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't look at specific counties. I just knew general numbers from talks.
Sure.
I'm certain that's accurate.
So I don't know if I need to make a motion or not, Mary Catherine, but maybe we can continue to have some conversations in our personnel committee about,
Personnel can bring that up.
yeah,
We don't need a motion on it, just,
okay.
you know.
So I guess we'll have that discussion a little bit more in depth at our next personnel meeting, and we'll get back with you and.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be involved in the conversation and any kind of, information I can provide for that. Like I said, simply, cost and how it may help or complicate things. It can go either way, when I talk to the road commissions, it's split about 50-50. How that works, so.
Any other questions from Ryan? Great report, Ryan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Okay, we got reports and special and ad hoc committees. Office facilities with Travis.
Nothing major. We wrapped up some getting completed with Wes, and the only real minor thing that we made the decision to move it to 1 meeting a month as opposed to 2. Other than that, pretty standard.
Anybody else was on that board have anything? Courts, public safety, John, and this is where we're going to add the 2. Take it from there. Yep.
Start right off with this stuff.
Yep. Yep.
Make sure I get it off my note here. So one of the things we had yesterday, which actually was a pretty interesting meeting because I wasn't expecting that. With the child care fund, Janelle came to us and I noticed her child care fund looked low, and as she explained it, she basically said, due to some circumstances waiting on funding from the state, she was at a point where if we didn't help subsidize or contribute a little bit more funding, that she was not able to pay the current bills that she had stacking up on her desk. So she asked if we could send over some money to the child care fund to help cover that. And I know we've done this in the past, a couple of times maybe. But one of the things I did ask, but she did not say that she could guarantee it. But once the state gives her the money to cover her portion of the child care fund, that hopefully we could get some of this money back, if not all. She said she would look at it as she moved forward, but currently we need to give her $50,000 to help cover her until we get that. And it was to the point where we can't wait, because if we waited till the next court meeting and that got approved, we're literally talking by the end of next month, and she doesn't think that she could make it another month. So today we have to make a recommendation or motion, so I'll make the motion that the committee approve, or this is what our motion was for the court and public safety, and I'll make that motion if need be. The court, or the committee recommends that we make a budget adjustment in the amount of $50,000 to be transferred from the general fund to the child care fund as presented. And as I said, it was based on the need for her to be able to cover her bills for the month, and waiting for that additional 150 to come in from the state. I think, wasn't there another amount of money that she was talking about as well?
There were two reimbursements, one from last year and one that last month, and one that she is about to submit from this month that were in the amount of $120,000 or $130,000.
Because I'm also on the same committee that Commissioner Kozlowski chairs, I will support his motion.
Okay, we got a motion by John and supported by Bert. Discussion, Kim, numbers,
Numbers as far as what, do you want to know?
taken out, we're gonna take it out of the general fund and go to the, so I have it.
So it would come, and you would increase the appropriation to the child care fund by 50,000. That number is 101,969,995.009. And as of right now, the child care fund has $631 to pay $40,000 worth of bills.
A little short, eh?
Just a little. You know, so far this year, they've spent $58,000 more than what they've brought in. That's even with us providing them their quote unquote normal monthly appropriation.
That's the number we're gonna use, so any more discussion on it?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I'm just concerned because we asked Janelle, well, when do you expect to get that money in? And she can't give, according to her, there is no set schedule for reimbursements or payments, and she can't determine that information. You know, and I don't know what can be done, but other than raise our hands and we just try to keep bailing them out and hope for the reimbursement. But that just seems to be interesting that there's no scheduled payment from the state of Michigan.
I don't think it can go on forever, you know, where's the money come from?
Yeah, and it's one of those ones that we have to fund.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and how is it, Kim, if your thoughts on the way the restitution comes back from the state? Has that been?
It's very sporadic.
Yeah.
But it always has been with the child care fund.
You never know.
Yeah, it's very sporadic. Let's see. Try to see that's coming.
Fingers crossed that.
Hope we get the money.
But I will tell you, for the past 2 years, they have been absorbing their savings to not have to draw more money from the general fund. You know, they had almost 200,000 in savings 2 years ago. Now they have 15,000. They have, worked at not requesting funds. And historically, the board has reduced their budgeted appropriation by what they had in their savings account over the 200,000. So this has kind of been slowly rolling downhill for a number of years.
Is there any more discussion? Roll call, please, Carrie.
Commissioner Karshnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Second one.
Okay, the next item was discussed was vision to the MIDC ramp for fiscal year 2023. The bottom line on that is we need to get more money due to some unforeseen circumstances with the MIDC. That grant goes to the state. And I believe Bill said while we were in the meeting that he did get the approval from the state that we would get the additional money. There is no county match for us, so this is just, he needs this motion to be able to be approved. Just send that information back to the state so we can get that money.
I think it was 167,000 we're supposed to get.
Extra.
Yeah, so, yeah,
Over and above your current.
yep, so that's
No county match.
no county match, so I need it,
So I'll make a motion.
okay? I made a motion to approve action item CPSC 4. Do I have support?
I'll support.
Support by Travis. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner, sorry, Commissioner Konashevsky, Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Karshnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Anything else, Jeff?
Oh, yeah.
You got your big long list there.
So like I said, so this meeting was an interesting meeting, and I think Commissioner Osmer, Commissioner Peterson, and Commissioner Francisco will agree. We had a lot of asks for this committee yesterday. Fortunately, I think we were able to come up with a plan forward. It's not going to hopefully cost the county as much as it could have been. I mean, it's still going to cost us, but we're getting the money from places that we had. So the city is looking to buy a new ambulance, and Fire Chief Rob Edmonds came in, asked if they have an opportunity to buy the ambulance from the township, and they're working that out, but he's going to need 135 for the ambulance, another 10 to outfit it. So that's going to be coming up probably on finance. We did make a motion to approve that. Another one, I don't know if anyone has any questions. I'll just kind of breeze through my note here, but stop me if you do. The sheriff did have a request, another request for some additional body cams and outfitting the vehicles, the new vehicles that we're getting. And that totaled about 173,000. And we made a motion to approve that, and that we said would come from ARPA funding, which I feel more comfortable using ARPA money on that kind of stuff than, trying to get it from someplace else, especially the general fund. And then, so those two were approved, and you'll see those in the minutes coming up for finance. The one that we were just going to get more information is the prosecuting attorney's office. You jump right in because you got all the information, but she's looking to upgrade her software. No, it's not like she's looking to upgrade it. She needs to upgrade it because of the sunset date for the current software that she's using. And it is kind of an expensive software. You just don't run out to Walmart and buy it off the shelf. So that could be roughly about 85-ish.
That was the one-time fee was somewhere around $70,000, and then the yearly subscription on top of that was around $11,000 or so dollars.
And can you explain, because you'll do a better job than I would, exactly what that software does?
So the software that we're looking to acquire, it's from a particular company, and I'll skip over the details as to how we came to that particular company, but the company would house the two software systems that we currently work with, our adult case tracking and juvenile case tracking, where we input all the data and our warrants are generated to actually charge someone. But then also our filer system, which is where we house all of our documents and how we've been able to go virtually paperless in our office and be able to access our files from home, from conferences, and primarily from the courtroom itself. And the Prosecuting Attorneys Association of Michigan is the one who developed the ACT and JCT systems back in the late 80s, and they've been fixing and upgrading that system for quite some time. But it has been a long time now that they've known that this would not last forever. And so they started researching, and eventually they've narrowed in on 3 different companies they're going to choose from. I have chosen one which I think will best suit our office because it will necessarily, within those cost parameters, carry out the duties of both of those systems that we currently have. So that would eliminate the need for us to pay our yearly subscription for the ACT JCT system, as well as the filer system, which we use to house our documents, like I said. And so eventually in the next very longest case scenario, 5 years down the road, they're just going to turn off and completely make ACT and JCT ineffective. And so, as I was explaining to the commissioners last night, everything that we do in our system with our cases eventually ends up on a defendant's criminal history sheet. And this system is what helps put us
input our data into that criminal history sheet. And so in Michigan, there's 3 different columns that are used. The courts are the ones who put in the convictions, but it's my understanding that without having our charging information, which goes in through this particular computer software system, then the convictions will never enter. And so we work closely with the courts in ensuring that, there's no hiccups and all of that. So once they do shut off that system, either we're already connected to another system or none of those convictions will enter. That's really the worst case scenario in this software system. But the other benefits of the system would be that law enforcement agencies would be able to upload all of their cases to the system from their particular departments. We would be able to email more and more things to different law firms, which would eliminate any back and forth with law enforcement or law offices, either receiving or not receiving supplements or discovery, things like that. And a big thing is that the company I've researched also would house all of our data, which is a huge thing that I've been speaking with the IT department here about, because the amount of data that we're using with the 3 departments giving us their in-car video cameras, their body-worn cameras in every single instance, and frankly, Defense Counsel demanding to see all of that as well. So we're not collecting it just to house it for ourselves, but then we have to turn it over to Defense. The storage that the county currently has is going to be insufficient, and I believe that we're looking at, Mr. Musso is going to get back to me on an actual closer time frame, but I think within a matter of a year, he's going to have to start making some very big purchases if we can't combat the storage issue fairly quickly.
So that's it in a nutshell. So there'll be more to that as we move forward with the court public safety. The last thing that I just wanted to touch on real quick was animal control. We did discuss it, but so we're transparent here and everybody is on the same page as the people on the courts committee, as well as Mary Catherine and the sheriff. We are literally at the beginning stages of even discussions with anything moving forward. So I know we had the gentleman here talking about changes and eliminating. We've never discussed any, we've discussed 3 options moving forward, but there's nothing been said that we have a date that we're gonna do anything. So we obviously, in order to get from here to there, we have to have a lot of discussions, and we're at the beginning stages of this discussion with animal control. That's all I have.
Anybody else in that committee got anything?
Oh, John covered it well.
Okay, good. Bert, you want to take the juvenile justice ad hoc
How
committee?
about me?
Oh, I'm going to forget about you. No,
Done.
I'll put you down the end. Go ahead, Dave. Personnel.
Mary Catherine and I met and we discussed the personnel meeting in February, and we didn't have enough to even have a meeting. So we've moved that meeting now to March 7th, normal time, and we'll discuss a lot of things then. But we didn't have anything, so we have nothing to report. My report's even shorter than John's.
You need a big note post.
Oh, no.
Okay, now I can go to Bert.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the Juvenile Justice Ad hoc Committee was developed because of a problem as the resources for secure detention of juveniles in Michigan continue to diminish as the need increases. So our mission statement basically for the ad hoc committee was to look at and conduct a feasibility study for 1, a possible regional multi-county juvenile detention center, and the number of 32 beds was discussed. Or 2, a unilateral effort from Alpena County to look at a juvenile detention center of somewhere around the vicinity of 6 beds based upon projected need. So far, the committee has met on 2 occasions. On 26 January was our initial meeting, and a Mr. Ron Colvin of Banro Enterprises, and Mary Catherine, please just jump in here anytime to supplement. His company basically has the ability to complete a multi-county regional feasibility study for a juvenile detention center. And he was going to continue to meet with Janelle and look at other counties in the area to determine if the other counties were interested and would contribute up to $5,000 towards this feasibility study, again, of the multi-county regional detention center. At this meeting, originally at one of the Court and Public Safety meetings, Janelle Mott had indicated that there was some state of Michigan funding available to provide that. But since then, at that 26th January meeting, she indicated that state of Michigan funding under the Raise the Age legislation was being suspended and all applications or amendments until further notice. Our second meeting was 15 February, where we had myself, I know Chair Peterson, you were there, Commissioner Osmer, Mary Catherine was there, Janelle, and Eric McKenzie, a juvenile probation officer. We met to discuss the current status of the Raise the Age funding, and as Ms. Mott had reported at that time, that the FY23 budget is quote unquote shut down, and that the FY24 preliminary budget meeting for Raise the Age is only at $13.1 million. The committee then they discussed the potential funding avenues, federal, contacting the Senator Peters' office to determine other funding initiatives or abilities. The bottom line is Alpena County needs an option for placing delinquent juveniles for pre and post adjudication detention. That's my end of report.
I did just receive notification from Senator Stabenow's office that the window for the congressionally directed spending, i.e. earmark funding, has opened. It closes March 16th. So if that's a project that we want to submit, we would need to get cracking on getting that put in.
Either the 6-bed at the add-on or the.
We could. I think the regional one has a much stronger possibility of being funded. And we could submit the ask both through Senator Stabenow and through Senator Peters' offices. So if that's something that we are interested in pushing as a project, I just need to get working on it.
Any thought?
I think,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Good.
I think that the regional sounds like the better plan for us because I've done just a little due diligence on this and there seems like there's a lot of continued funding that we would need to put into this program. It's a lot more than buying just the 6 beds. It's,
Well, like Mary Catherine said, you could build it, but how do you fund it?
and it seems like there's a lot of additional funding that's going to be required with, staffing as far as, doctors and psychologists and several other things that are not cheap to come by. If we could get commitment, long-term commitment from surrounding communities, these kids obviously need somewhere to go. We don't just say, well, sorry, but we have to figure something out. So hopefully we can do it with a group.
Mary Catherine, there's like 4 or 5 counties already went into this fund.
There are, and I apologize, I don't have my list in front of me.
I was Gladwin and Ogama.
Alcona, anyway, there were 4 that were committed at the time that we committed. And I have a note out to Ron Colvin to give me a final count and a list of all of the counties that actually in the end committed to participating in the study. Yes, and actually it was very interesting because as part of the discussions on the opioid funding, I had a very good discussion with the folks who have been employed through MAC, the Michigan Association of Counties, to help counties with the opioid funding. And she actually put me in contact with a person at DHHS. And DHHS, as we heard from Janelle as part of the committee, is also in a pickle when it comes to placing juveniles, both for foster placements and for other kinds of placements. And they might be a really good partner for us in moving forward if I can get the right people in the right room with us. Because there's funding coming down that stream as well.
Questions?
So the pros and cons, I'm just curious, Mary Catherine, you'd probably be able to answer this. If we go regional, one of the things we talked about potentially doing is renting beds out to other counties. But if we go regional, then that takes away that possibility. I would take it for the most part because it'd be utilized by multi-county. So chances are those beds would be full and be limited. Whereas if we were to build out, we could rent those out. And I apologize that Janelle was not here. It was like expensive for us to put one child, per day. It was like $5,000 a day or something like that.
Right, it depends. We pay anywhere from $175 upwards of $700, $800, $900 a night, depending on where they are.
So if we were to go alone though, and we were to have enough beds, we would be able to rent them out and maybe make up some of the funds to help soften the cost. However, from a political point of view, if we go regional, we'd have multi-members, the state level who'd be able to advocate for us. That's more appealing to statewide candidates as well, to kind of say, okay, we have counties that can help versus one. Can we get, and again, I know Janelle discussed it, but can we get just in writing, maybe an email from Janelle, what the breakdown was for when we send these kids out? Right.
Sure, in terms of what she's paying. And I will say, in one of the discussions that we had, and I think this is something to be thinking about as we think about, you know, a 6-bed local versus a 32-bed regional facility, there are two things. One is, and Janelle was very clear, right? If it's a 6-bed facility that's just ours, then more likely than not, it would be court operated. Which there's slightly different rules and regulations about being court operated, and you're thinking about a slightly different type of stay, where you're talking about short-term, you're talking about respite care, you're talking about, you know, a 1 or 2 day hold for somebody as a consequence on probation or parole. Not so much in terms of the pre-adjudication kinds of things. Whereas if you're talking about a 32-bed regional juvenile justice facility, you can think about something that is more comprehensive. But to Commissioner Konashevsky's point, then you are talking about doctors, you're talking about school, you're talking about treatment, you know, you're talking about a much more comprehensive program, which in some ways could be way more attractive. But also a lot more in terms of operational overhead and expenses and regulation and thought, maybe better outcomes.
I guess when we get those numbers, could we also ask her what the percentage of, wait, what was the stay time? Wasn't it like 20, was it like 2 weeks or 20 days or something before that kicks in, where we'd have to go with a full?
I think it was 26 days, but I'll have to go back to my.
The percentage of how many of these kids currently that we put into these type of situations, how many are under that 26-day threshold and how many are long-term?
Okay.
Out of curiosity.
Just to be fair, I think you'd have to go back several years, because since COVID, there haven't been, you know, a 3-day stay or a 5-day stay. Not like there used to be when we could send somebody off for a weekend, have them cool down and race those ramifications.
What are we doing?
In a Barrett right now.
Are we able to function that way? Like,
I mean, no, I think that's why the 6-bed is the minimal option, and then.
I mean, has there been a kickback for us doing it this way rather than when we had the option to put them in?
Just keeping, I mean, the kids stay in the community that way, so their families stay at risk and the rest of the community stays at risk. So yeah, they tend to reoffend.
And to the board, we have not yet, as the chair made me the chair of the committee, we have not scheduled any further meetings at this time until we kind of gather a little more information from Janelle and Mr. McKenzie. So at this point, no other meetings have been scheduled at this time.
Do we have something for the second for juvenile?
I think that is the Economic Development Committee, but let me bring up my calendar quick.
I might have wrote it down.
Restate it. I don't recall having a date scheduled for any further juvenile justice ad hoc committee meetings at this
I
time.
don't see any
Okay, good.
on the second.
Okay,
That's one less.
we will, but until we can get a little more information and then decide which, if we want to go unilateral, i.e. county only, court operated, or regional, multi-county, we'll have to.
Somebody will have to lean on Janelle pretty hard with that window shutting fast, it sounds like.
Well, yes, this is Janelle, but I mean, really, at the end of the day, you know, you guys have to make the decision if this is, I mean, look, if we get money from a congressional earmark, yay. And you can always turn it down because they funnel them through particular agencies and particular grant projects. But it is a big thing to think about moving forward with that kind of a project. And yes, it does feel super tight. On the other hand, you know, you guys just moved $50,000 from the general fund into the childcare fund. And a big chunk of the reason why we have to do that is because we are spending these kinds of costs and sending kids out of county, out of state, when we have to place them because we don't have anything here in Alpena. We don't have a lot regionally and the beds are closing. The facilities or, closely surrounding us are either closing or saying we can only take our own kids.
As soon as you hear from Ron, we'll know how fast that study's going to go. I think that'll be that'll dictate how we're going to move forward.
I think that's the linchpin at this point, is hearing from Mr. Colvin on whether there's going to be a feasibility study be able to do.
Okay, anything else? Not? Brenda, Health Department.
Yes, there's not too much new going on this time of year outside of, the flu, COVID, which is, really low this year. I think everybody's getting their vaccines and the numbers are going down, so that seems to be working. I think one of the biggest things is we used to meet in, Hillman. And they raised the rent. So now we're moving to Atlanta at the courthouse, which is gonna be more miles on the commissioners. But Dr. Myerson was absent, so we didn't have much of a report on that. So, but all things are going well. We did updates on policies. Other than that,
Say you're chair now of the,
oh, I am chair.
you're
Yes.
chair of DH for,
Yes, I was elected chair. Bob Adrian was chair for quite a few years. So I have some big shoes to fill there. So it's gonna take a while to get used to being chair of District Health Board.
okay, any questions from Brenda? Moving on, landfill, I'll give the update on that and first can step in also. We did finish our injection well. It went down 2,303 feet, I believe was the depth of it. They're in the process right now of, Elmer's is running the piping from the lagoons to the well. And they just finished up the, everything they had to do in the well. So we're just waiting for the EPA to come in, test the flow of it and how much water we can dump in it per day or whatever, how they're going to do it. But it's a free flow. It's a suction. It's sucking the water. We don't have to have pumps to pump it in the well. So there's a lot of pressure there pulling it down. Yeah, I've got that. I'll watch this. I'm going to use it because you were sticking it there for a while. We got, I think we're about $700,000 over budget because it took more than the 14 days they talked about drop that well. But we have the money and we're projected to save about $1 million a year with this well. So it'll pay for itself in about 3.5 years.
What was you said 2,300 feet?
2,303 feet.
Center of the earth? That's a long way down.
Down, yeah.
And what's the well for?
That's ejects all the leachate out of the landfill.
Down 2,300 feet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully it'll sneak right into China.
Yeah. we take,
Don't say that out loud, Dave.
we used to take and pump it out of the ponds into tanker trucks and they take it over to the Vienna corners and where all the well companies put all their nasty stuff on their drilling.
Yeah.
So now that's usually that's probably about $11,000, $12,000 a load every time it goes out of there.
So what is that 2,300 feet? Is it like?
It's worse than what we're putting into it.
Right, whatever's down there, whatever magna
So
is
we don't
down
have to
there.
worry about it
Magma is down
No,
there, yeah.
we were hoping to hit oil, but we didn't.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, that'd been nice, but that's gonna save us that kind of money, so hopefully in the future, we'll be getting some more money from the landfill towards the counties, 3 counties, so. Bert, you got anything on that?
The only thing to add, Mr. Chair, is the fact that we're acquiring about 39 acres of property that adjoins that's contiguous to the current property of the landfill. And it's state land, so it looks like that is going to go through. So that will take care of any future expansion in the future for us. So.
Well, what we're purchasing that property for is we're getting a little leaching of methane gas into the state land. And once we do that, we have to drop monitor wells. So we have monitor wells on our property. If we buy this 39 acres,
39
and the
acres.
state will say, okay, it's on your property, we don't care.
Not an issue.
There's a lot going on over there, so it's very interesting.
They used to give us money. Do we get money from them?
Yeah, we get 125,000 a year from the landfill. So Kim always likes that check coming.
Oh, yeah.
Always watching for it.
Okay, Mary Catherine on the recycling.
Yes, it looks like we got an extra M in there, but that's okay. So the Northeast Michigan Materials Management Authority, we did drop the pin on our EPA grant. So that's $1.9 million request to the EPA, which will finish the funding that is needed in order to make sure that we move forward. I feel like it's a very strong application. It ticks their boxes, fits exactly the criteria they are looking to fund. The authority board is moving forward with, they put out an RFP for financial services so that they can get everything moved over from NEMCOG, open their own bank accounts, get their insurance going. They are hoping to be done with that by the end of the first quarter and get everything shifted over. And then they will be rolling ahead. They're looking to apply for another Eagle grant to buy a new truck, because the current truck that the board owns, which they bought last year, has been a little bit of a lemon. And so we're still spending a lot in terms of contract services for transportation of the recycling bins, but continuing to look very good. Thank you very much for this board's support. They get all of the donations that they needed in order to make sure that the cleanup day and the electronics day are going forward, including being able to take the large tires that we weren't sure we were going to be able to. So that is very exciting to get that going, and that's what I got for now. Thank you.
I just have, so I asked last board meeting about getting minutes.
I apologize. Yes, I will make sure that Laura gets those minutes out. Laura Ellery Summers is the secretary. Okay.
Questions, Mary Catherine? If not, we'll move. Nobody here for library parks. Bill?
The parks are waiting for spring, but the Beaver Lake, that dam project is going on there. Plus, we're waiting for windows for the house to finish that up. They're having a hard time getting the windows. And Long Lake Park, there's going to be a big project going on this summer there on the dock. And I guess regular maintenance stuff on the house and everything is progressing. Sunken Lake Park, the house project should be completed soon, and everything will be ready to go there. Just waiting for the nicer weather. Manning Hill Park, everything is all right there. I guess we're just waiting for that to open up in the spring. They use it in the wintertime to slide down the hill and everything, but everything is okay there. I think that's about it.
You also, I see you raised the price of camping.
They changed all the fees at all the parks, and I don't have that sheet in front of me right now.
Go down here, it's down the bottom.
And also, things at the fairgrounds are progressing, are pretty good. Bathroom, I think, is pretty much done. And putting, they have a list, made a list of all the fees there for the different areas.
Jesse, anything? Add on? Oh.
Just one question on that. So I had seen on the county website that we had a advertisement for the manager. Were we able to get that position filled?
There is a recommendation for that position to be filled.
Position?
Position, yes. The subcommittee did interviews. They have a recommendation for a hire that's going to the park commission this week. Yeah.
Okay, Veterans.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the Veterans Affairs Board for Alpena County met on 9 January 23. That was their organizational meeting, as they had, I think, 3 new members to the board. And Earl Martin was elected as the board chair. In the month of January, the contacts with our Alpena County Veterans Affairs Board has increased significantly. There were 160 in-person assists in January and 131 telephone assists for a total of 291. That's about a 30% increase from previous months. They don't attribute to anything other than people, I guess, awareness, and maybe our the outreach program is starting to work. But again, both Dan and Bill have done a great job of keeping the veterans and their families informed and providing assistance. The one significant action that took place, just to make the rest of the board here aware, is that the Veterans Affairs Board sent a letter to the Alpena County Board of Commissioners that the Alpena County Veterans Affairs Office will no longer complete the Alpena County Michigan Veterans Trust Fund applications, but will assist in processing the completed applications. What has been happening for many years is that Alpena County did not have a Veteran Service Officer, so Alpena County was nice enough to complete those applications and process them for Alpena County, but now they have their own VSO. So our staff has trained them on how to do it, and they will begin doing their own. We will assist in the processing. Subject to questions, concludes my report.
Good, thanks, Bert. Any special orders? Unfinished business or general orders? New business, Parks and Recreation Committee, action item 4, recommend approval of Alpena Fairgrounds campground rates for 2023 as presented. And you have those in your packet.
Yep.
Just come through the.
I make a recommendation that that we approve the recommended rates.
Got a motion by Bill to approve the fairgrounds rental lease fees. Do I have a second? Second by Dave. Discussion. No discussion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Francisco?
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski?
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye?
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer?
Yes.
Commissioner Karshnick?
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes. Okay, action item number 5, recommend approval of the updated Parks and Recreation Commission bylaws as presented. Everybody got a chance to look at those? Somebody entertain a motion to approve them? Motion by Bill, support.
I'll support it.
Support by Bert. Discussion. Was there, go ahead, Brenda.
When the campers come in for camping, do they get a list of rules for the campground?
They do when they make a reservation, and the Parks Commission is also looking at a park ordinance. Supersede and replace the rules, and then they would get a copy of the ordinance.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Konashevsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski?
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye?
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer?
Yes.
Commissioner Karshnick?
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes. Action item number 6, recommend approval of NEMCOG to update the county master plan and recreation plan as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I apologize, just to clarify, this would be to update the county Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
Master plan, okay.
And Mary Catherine and I have talked, I'm a board member on NEMCOG, and we want to put out a proposal to them to upgrade our rec plan and master plan.
Right, well, so technically, NEMCOG is not allowed to respond to an RFP. So the Planning Commission, which is where this planning will originate, had a discussion in regards to whether or not they wanted to issue an RFP or whether they wanted to go with NEMCOG. NEMCOG has done the planning for the county in the past. They have all of our information. We also, at this point, the county, the Planning Commission has a commitment from the city and from the Charter Township, as well as the other townships that went along with the rec master plan last time, to plan with us, assuming that they use NEMCOG again. It seems like this could be a single source issue where, NEMCOG is the best one to do this planning. They also will almost certainly be the least expensive option in order to accomplish this planning. So that was the recommendation from Planning Commission, was to go ahead and contract with NEMCOG.
Okay, we have a motion by Brenda. Do I have a second? Support by John. More discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye.
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer.
Yes.
Commissioner Karshnick. Commissioner Fournier.
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco.
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky.
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Public comment. Do we have anybody in the audience for public comment? Not anybody online for public comment? Comment is closed. I have a motion for adjournment. Motion by John,
I'll second that.
second by Phil. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
On that little piece of paper, John? Okay.